I'm Justin Lesko, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and former pro MMA fighter.
And I'm Mike Callahan, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and a law enforcement officer.
Today on the show, we have a guest that we're really excited about.
He's the current matchmaker for Who's Number One, and he's also the producer of the FloGrappling series, Daisy Fresh and American Jiu-Jitsu Story.
Real quick, speaking of FloGrappling, do you think they have like an apparel director, like a chief apparel officer or a CAO?
No, because if they did, everybody on every stream on Flo would be wearing Epic Roll BJJ gear.
Epic Roll is high quality jiu-jitsu apparel for both on and off the mats.
They got gis, rash guards, shorts, shirts, artwork, anything you need. We've said it on here before. Anything you need, they got you.
And when you go to epicrollbjj.com and you use the coupon code podcast15, you can get 15% off your order.
So give them a follow on Instagram at epicrollbjj. And like Justin said, use the coupon code podcast15 to get 15% off your order.
They have stuff that will make you look so good. Our guest tonight might just have to put you on a Who's Number One card.
Yeah, that's probably the only way that you or I are getting on the Who's Number One card. Anyway, please welcome to the show, Michael Sears.
So Mike on the bottom, Justin, how you guys doing?
Mr.
Good, man.
Sears, how
Thanks
are
so
you?
much for coming on.
We really
Yeah,
appreciate
no
you coming on the
problem.
show.
This is my first time ever guesting on a podcast. Actually, I host a lot of them, but I get a lot of invites to do them, but I'm just too fucking busy. Like I don't even go to a lot of my work meetings. So, but it's funny how this came about. Like I saw one of your guys' clips on YouTube, and I was like, damn, this is a pretty good podcast. Let me look these guys up. And I went to my DMs to message you, and there was already a message from you guys. So I was like, oh shit, all right, I'll go on this thing.
Well, I'm going to A, take the compliment that we rank above work meetings sometimes, and B, sorry for sliding in your DMs, but that's our number one strategy for guests, sliding those DMs.
My DMs are just populated. I used to do a lot of like gi color belt rankings, and it's just populated with a whole bunch of people complaining about that shit. So I don't check them too much.
Right. You've been traveling like crazy?
Yeah, last week. I mean, I always travel a lot, but it's getting back to like before COVID, we traveled a ton. Like last week, I went 3 places. I went to Vegas for that EUG tournament, which was pretty cool. Vegas is back to pre-COVID levels. With the strip was packed, full of people. You still gotta play blackjack in between little partitions and shit. But and then I went to Kentucky, to Daisy Fresh. You guys had Andrew on here, right?
We did.
We went to me and the girl Simone, who makes that with me, and then my boss Ray. We went to Jacob Couch's hometown in Kentucky, Hazard, Kentucky, to film some stuff there. It was pretty cool. And after that, went to Puerto Rico to see the DDS guys. So that's always a good time.
You're in Texas right now?
Austin, Texas. Yeah, we're based out of Austin, Texas. That's where our office is and everything. So I'll be here until we got our Who's Number One on April 30th. I'll stay here until then because I sort of coordinate all that stuff, and then I'll hit the road again.
For people who don't know, how did you start at FloGrappling?
I was actually a fan of Flow Wrestling before FloGrappling even existed. I grew up wrestling, and like the way that before Flow Wrestling, the way media was like it was like dark ages. It was like I used to get results from like the USA Wrestling magazine that would come to my mom's house, and you would get them from like the magazine, or you would get them from newspapers, and all you would see is box scores. So it's like I remember when I was a kid, like there'd be guys who were some of the best wrestlers in the country, and I had never seen them before. I'd only read their name in box scores. Like that's how far dark ages of the media was. I remember when first time I saw Brock Lesnar in the USA Wrestling magazine, and I was like, damn, who the fuck is this guy? It's just like looks like not even a human. So I was a fan of Flow Wrestling for a while. So then I got into grappling older to jiu-jitsu, and when FloGrappling started covering it, it was exciting for me too, because I used to check all the IBJJF tournaments. I used to have to get my results by like refreshing the brackets, go to the IBJJF webpage, refresh the bracket, or just hope Gracie Mag or somebody posts something on Instagram. So I was always into the flow thing, and then for those reasons, and then I had known I used to go to Brazil a lot, like and train. I used to go stay for 2-3 weeks a month, train, and that's where I met Hal at De La Rivas. I always trained at Carlson's. I'm Carlson Gracie. I always trained at Carlson's in the morning, at night. They didn't have afternoon. And I would go to De La Riva, and I met Hal, and be the only English speakers around. We bullshit sometimes. And I was teaching at this time. I was teaching for Carlson Gracie Jr. at his gym in Chicago. And I don't know why, I just started taking these junior college photography classes. I started getting into it, and then Junior brought me to Vegas to shoot Master Worlds, and I saw Hal there. I knew him from Rio. He asked me could use some of my photos. And then next thing you know, I was doing some work for them. The first thing I actually ever did for them, freelance, was I did a photo essay on the Daisy Fresh Gym like 4 or 5 years ago. Did really well. And then I did some other stuff. I went to Unity, went to Dante Leone in Ohio, just people I knew from competing and stuff. And then I started working a bunch of events for them. They started trusting me more. Like I went to Abu Dhabi twice freelance with them. One time they sent me to Kazakhstan freelance by myself to cover some UWW tournaments. So yeah, I just got in with them. I busted my ass, and my roles really changed over the years. I started out just working photography. Actually, the first time I worked for Flo, I worked as a table worker at the Chicago Open, and then I've done archive stuff, photography. Now they don't even let me do photography anymore. I got other responsibilities, but yeah, so that's how I came to work for him. I came on full time August 2019, or not long before ADCC. At that point, I had been like on retainer as a freelancer. I'd been living in Brazil, yeah, so here I am.
Before we go any further, I just want to make it known that Justin didn't criticize you for being a wrestling guy. Every time I fucking mention wrestling on this show, Justin breaks my balls. But if Michael Sears comes on and starts talking about how he's an amateur wrestling fan, he gets a free pass. I just want everybody to realize that.
As a guest on the show, I automatically like people better than I like you, so everyone gets a free pass.
How about you guys? How did you guys get started hosting this show?
We were bored during a pandemic and looking for, we obviously love jiu-jitsu. That's why we do a show about it. And then we just were like, we talk about jiu-jitsu all day long. Let's just record it and talk about it. And then we were lucky. We started reaching out to some people, and, we had guys like Kent Peters came on the show. We had Lachlan Giles come on the show, and it just it was like we realized we could get a chance to talk to people like you who we never would get a chance to talk to if we didn't have this show. And
right,
about a year later, we're still just kicking along, trying to slide into DMs and talk to all the most famous people we can.
Yeah, we trained together probably for like 8 or 9 years now.
Where are you guys based out of?
I'm in New Jersey. I'm in like central Jersey, and Mike's right outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah, we're both originally from PA, which is crazy because Justin hates wrestling, and PA is such a big wrestling state, and Justin's like an anti-wrestling guy. I don't know, so. But yeah.
He exaggerates.
Yeah, I was born in New Jersey. I used to go there a lot when I was a kid, but I'm from Illinois. I grew up in Illinois, went to high school in Illinois and everything.
So, you touched on, we had Andrew on the show, and he sort of gave us like his side of how you guys got connected in the start of Daisy Fresh and all that. But in case anyone is new to the show or didn't listen to our awesome conversation with Andrew, how did Daisy Fresh, from your side of things, how did it become a show and then obviously just took off?
Well, me and Andrew, I go way back with Andrew and Heath. I knew those guys when Andrew and his brother were the only ones living in the gym over there. And I met them actually at a tournament in Kentucky. I remember I was a blue belt. I think it was my first blue belt tournament. And we used to go do this tournament in Kentucky. It's like a 6-hour drive from Chicago. And it's called the Bluegrass Open, where you could win some money. You win like a couple $100 if you win it. So it was appealing to us. We'd go down there. You go with 5, 6 guys. A couple of you win some money, and then they spend it on everybody else at the bar, right? So I met Andrew. I had won my first match, and I'm in the semis, like an 8-guy bracket. And Andrew had won his match, and he was a white belt. He was on blue belt tournament. He was wearing a white belt. And anybody that knows Andrew back then, he used to have this dirty breakpoint gi. It was like gray. It's supposed to be white, but it was like gray. And he would walk around the tournament. He wouldn't wear like shoes or flip flops. He would just have like these dirty socks on. He'd walk around with his hands behind his back. And I was like, you're in Kentucky, where the jiu-jitsu wasn't too high level at that point compared to Chicago. Anyways, and I'm seeing this dirty dude who I'd never seen before. He's a white belt in the second round. I'm thinking, all right, I got a gimme in the semis, right? I'm going to the finals. I got a shot at some money. And then I got tapped by Andrew. Then I realized how good Andrew was. I mean, we watched it recently, and we both looked like shit, but he was still levels above me at that point. He was really high level for a white belt, I guess. I mean, and then so I met them, became friends with them, and then I think there's more tournaments now, but back then it was like there wasn't too many tournaments, especially like IBJJF. The only thing in the Midwest was Chicago Open. Basically, everybody would go to Chicago to do Chicago Open. So they would come up, they'd stay with me when they were competing up there. Sometimes like on the road. One time I went with them to California and at Pans, I slept on the mats at Orlando Sanchez gym with them. And we just, sort of became boys from traveling. I'd see them around Atlanta, wherever where I was competing. Heath would have coached me a lot. I'd be on the road, no coach, he would coach me. So then I made that photo essay. It was called like something about the Jiu-Jitsu heart. I can't remember, but it did really well. And actually, I lost money on it, but it was like it got my foot in the door. Then once I got to the company full time, actually, I was working on that before I got full time at Flow. I was off shooting it, and I was at Heath's house when they called me to give me the job, and but it would have never got as big if I edited it. My editing skills are limited. I just don't have the patience. But got this girl, Simone Khan, who works for the company, she got a great personality. She's a funny girl, which is important. She's easy, like for something like that. Like when we're shooting with those guys, we're literally a lot of times with them from the time they wake up to when they go to sleep. So they got to be comfortable with you, right? So she's pretty cool. They get along with her, and then she adds in her humor to the edits. And I don't know, it turned out well. Like I was really worried when it was coming out. Because we had never really done any films or anything on people who weren't like big stars, but I guess word of mouth worked and enough people liked it that it's become one of the most successful things we've ever done.
This wasn't something you were expecting to take off like it did, I guess.
No, right? No. When we were first making it, we were going to do just those first 2 episodes and make that just be a standalone thing. And then it got so successful, and like I'm going around to events, people are like, when are we going to get more Daisy Fresh? So we were like, shit, let's just make it a series. And I mean, those guys they're charismatic enough and interesting enough that people, I mean, every episode, we got five more episodes coming later this month. The first one drops for season 2, and it's just keeps getting better. I'm really excited for people to see the next season and everything.
When we talked to Andrew, we were trying to pull out some, maybe some teaser spoilers, but he basically said the way you guys film, he never knows what's going in and what to expect. He sort of watches it with the rest of us for the first time to see what craziness unfolds. Am I going to be able to maybe pull a couple of things out of you to let us know what we can maybe look forward to in season 2?
The general idea is going to be, we followed them at the IBJJF Nogi Pans in Atlanta. The team did really well. All the athletes did really well. Like basically everybody from the series did really well. And then we're going to combine that with a couple of content trips to like Couch's hometown, to Mount Vernon. And it's like flashing back and forth. It's like, this one's going to be a lot cooler than our previous. It'll be like, say, one of the guys, Alejandro, like Alejandro's going through the bracket, and while that's going on, is flashing back and forth to his life in Mount Vernon and the type of stuff that they're going
awesome.
on. Yeah, so it's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited.
When you're shooting, will you train with these guys?
These are basically the only people I train with when I'm on the road because of my boys. Some other, I mean, I'd be allowed to train more, but I get freaked out that I'm gonna like miss something if I'm rolling. But when I go to Pedigo in Mount Vernon, I basically always have to train. I'm sort of out of shape now, so I usually pick somebody that I know will be nice to me. I roll with Spatchy usually. I usually roll with Spatchy. Sometimes I roll with Andrew because it's the same thing with him with anybody. He's going to beat the shit out of anybody the same way, but it's not going to hurt. Some of these young guys, I try to stay away from just because I can't keep up that pace right now. I barely even exercise. So these guys, they live in the gym. They're animals. And but yeah, I usually don't plan on training when I'm there. But I'll just take my chain, my watch off, and just be like, "Hey, Spatch, let's get around." And I'll get one round in, and that'll be good for me.
Well, we're sort of going out of order a little bit here, but I guess we were just excited to talk. But usually we start the show by saying, what got you into jiu-jitsu, just for a little bit of context of how you get into jiu-jitsu.
I started pretty late. I started at 28. So I had wrestled and done some stuff when I was younger. I never had a super high level or anything, but then I went and I worked construction for years, and I was just getting super unhealthy. Like I was just like, eating unhealthy, going to the bar 3-4 nights a week, watching Chicago sports, smoking cigarettes, all that, all that good stuff. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. This stuff's fun. But at one point I just was like, man, I got to get, I just quit everything. Just started getting super into like lifting weights. And then one of my friends recommended to me to do jiu-jitsu, but he was training at a school in a different city. So I just Googled closest jiu-jitsu, and it was a Carlson Gracie affiliate close to me in a place called Aurora, Illinois. These guys, Brian Bishop, Jeff Neal. And then I started training with them and going to tournaments. I became friends with Carlson Jr. and started training with him and worked for him and in Chicago in Logan Square. So yeah, that's how I got into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, usually we'll see how good my editing skills are, whether I leave that part where we just talked about it or I try to crop it and throw it into the front of the episode. But
they're not that good. They're not as good as Simone's.
They're not as good as Simone's, but they're a lot better than Mike's, and that's why I do it.
Yeah, they don't let me edit too much stuff. I don't have the patience. Takes a lot of patience to be good at it, I think.
Yeah, well, fortunately for us, it's just the two of us talking. It's not like you have we don't have hours and hours of footage of rolling and 12 people on the mat you're trying to get context for. It's just that I can do cutting back and forth between the two of us talking, but not too bad.
The thing that drives me crazy, like when I'll come back from a trip and I just have hours and hours, like we were just in Puerto Rico, we have 3 people shooting for 5 days straight. And it's like, man, how do you guys even go through all this stuff? Like, how do you have the patience to go through here and find the good stuff? I would just grab shit. And then, I guess that's why I'm not a good editor, but
you're the matchmaker for Who's Number One now. So how did that come to be?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. It's like technically, if you look at like the organization chart, I'm about as low as you could get in the company, but I got a lot of responsibility when it comes to that event. It was, Who's Number One was started as a FloWrestling event. I'm sure you know, Mike. It's FloWrestling has an event called Who's Number One that it's like they take the top 2 ranked kids in every high school weight class and put them against each other, right? So our original idea was to do that with jiu-jitsu with my like gi, purple, and brown belt rankings. And then we did that last year in Costa Mesa. It was good. It was a success, but I don't know. I just felt like it could be bigger. And then we started to change it up during COVID. Well, we did a couple events with Fight to Win, Gordon versus Bame, and Gary Tonin versus Dante. We did those with Fight to Win, and then we broke off and did our own production department. But it's like, I don't know. I've just sort of been involved in the conception of like the direction of it from the beginning, and of trying to make it just being like, I just went with one style, just went with no gi. We made our own rules now. I'm trying to make it something really organized and make it, keep going bigger and bigger, champions and everything. And I do the matchmaking for that, yeah. But it's like there's a lot of people involved in the event, but I'm probably the only person who's involved in like every step. Like I'm working with the girls from our O&O department when they're like picking the hotels and the dates, and I'm working with other departments when they're making the contracts and we're making the budget. And then after the match is signed, getting the matches signed is the biggest pain in the ass out of everything, because a lot of these guys are just so hard to deal with behind the scenes. But and then from there, it's smooth sailing. Then we're just making content, marketing it, getting ready to do the event. And yeah, I mean, it's really blown up. I'm really happy with where it's at right now. And we got some exciting ones coming up.
Now, when you're talking about doing matches and it's tough, is it tough to get matches for specific guys? Or does it go like everyone wants to roll against Gordon Ryan because he's the most popular guy in the sport, or you can't get someone to roll against Gordon Ryan because he's the best guy in the sport? Is that a headache, or is it lower on the card just trying to round out a big event like that?
Yeah, no, you would think everybody would want to go against Gordon. I mean, it's the biggest match in the sport. Like if this was the MMA, everybody wants to fight Conor McGregor, right? They want to go take that chance. But everybody's scared to death of Gordon. I mean, everybody puts on a front on social media. They say this and that, and then you start talking about the matches, and no, nobody really wants it. He's the hardest guy to find an opponent for. But still, just in general, it gets difficult with like, we have to have our stuff for Reed's making these Road to Who's Number One films now. I don't know if you guys saw that for the Gordon Wagner. Just like with all our marketing and everything that we have behind it, like I have to have this stuff planned super far out. So we have a short window to get these matches signed. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, and yeah, sometimes. So it's like I see people criticize, people be like, "Oh, why isn't Gordon fighting Felipe Pena or this guy fighting this guy?" It's like, man, it's not that simple. It's not that simple to throw all this shit together. But I think we've got some good matches so far. I'm excited for this next one.
Well, I know that you're probably, most of your DMs are people asking for me to come on and fight Gordon Ryan. And I'm happy to try to last more than 10 or 15 seconds against him and not sell any any buys of that card, but you just let me know. I'm available on short notice to come get
It might
demolished.
come to that. It could come to that.
No, if anybody remembers, we've talked about it multiple times on this show that we're confident that the two of us at the same time could beat Gordon maybe 2 out of 10 times. Yeah, there's at the same time though, not individually.
He's unreal. I see him even like in the room rolling with top level guys, and he's just on such another level. It's crazy. But it's not just him. It's like people don't want that whole squad. It's like the last Nicky Ryan's fighting PJ Barch, which I'm really excited for later this month. 7 people turned it down before PJ took it. It's like, I don't know, jiu-jitsu is sort of funny at a professional level where it's like everybody sort of wants a safe match. They don't want to go against a guy like Nicky or Gordon that they know is going to be trying to tap him the entire time. They want somebody that they know that even if they lose, it's going to be a ref decision, right? They're not going to look that bad. People are sort of scared of the submission hunters, but the submission hunters are the exciting ones. Those are the ones I want to build the events around. I mean, we need action, right?
And I take it you've just kind of built a relationship with the DDS guys through Who's Number One and FloGrappling, but it's to the point now where you're actually spending time down there with them.
I've been to Puerto Rico a couple times for a week. Gordon and Craig would be the ones I know the best. Me and Gordon actually early in COVID hosted a show together for like a couple months. It was pretty interesting. We had like GSP and all these people on there. So and then Craig's the coolest guy in the sport. I mean, everybody can get along with Craig. He's just, I mean, you bring Craig around anybody that works in our company and he just becomes friends with them and starts bullshitting with them right away. So I've gotten a good relationship with all those guys down there now. I get along pretty well with John. Some of the other guys I don't know as much, but Gordon and Craig, I'm in pretty regular contact with because they're always either about to fight on Who's Number One or we're working out a match for them. So I'm always talking with those two.
I'm guessing that they're different training styles, but in terms of intensity, would you say that they're on par with the level of intensity at Daisy Fresh, or Daisy Fresh is on par with those guys? Is it similar levels of intensity during training sessions there?
Yeah, similar levels. I would say one big difference is something you see at the DDS guys that you don't see a lot of from other people, not even just Daisy Fresh's other top level gyms, is how often these guys put themselves into bad positions in training. Like you're watching Gary, Gordon, these guys rolling, and letting people basically mount them, letting people take their back, and then trying to work out. Like they're not trying to kill their training partners. They're trying to seek out positions, it seems, and get better in those positions. They're not just trying to stomp everybody in there. Like Gordon spends half of his round like in an arm lock half the time. He's just putting himself in arm locks and then working on escaping before tapping. So it's compared to how everybody considers them on social media, like, really braggadocious and I guess people would say cocky. Like the way that they train is extremely humble. Like those guys are not scared to get tapped in training, and they're always, you can tell, trying to work on bad positions, get good at those. And it shows when they compete. If they get put in a bad spot, they know how to react.
There was like so few details that came out when Gordon signed with One. I'm wondering if you have any insider info about what's coming next.
I don't know much about it. I know he's still allowed to compete with us, but he's going to do some fights with One as well. I don't know if it's going to be any MMA for a while, but I think he's going to do some grappling matches. But it's not affecting what we're doing with him. We're going to announce a main match for him soon. He's gonna be on our I'm sure you've seen Mo teasing online. I can't say too much about it, but our ADCC event that's coming. We got some other stuff planned for later in the year. So he's still gonna be on Who's Number One. But I mean, that's a great opportunity for him to go compete on One championships. We got a lot of viewers over there. It really grows brand. So good for him.
Yeah, I was nervous that was going to be one of those things where he would sign with One and they would be, all right, we have like exclusive rights to Gordon now. He can't do Who's Number One. He can't do any other organization. So I'm happy to hear that doesn't seem to be the case. And he's still going to be rolling and competing.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do both.
You kind of teased it, and I was going to ask you, do you have any matches that haven't been announced yet?
I can tell you, May 28th will be the next one. It's going to be Gordon in the main event, but it's we're going to announce his opponent. His opponent's going to be there at April 30th for the stream, and they're going to do the face-off and unveil him there. So a lot of people would not be too happy with me if I revealed that opponent on this one.
But two people right here would be super happy with you, so you have to balance that out, man.
Yeah, this next card is pretty fun though. I mean, we got a lot of Have you seen the next card that we got coming?
Yeah, and it's stacked. It's crazy stacked.
Gordon versus Ty is an interesting one. I mean, Ty Rotolo, perhaps, I mean, as much as I was, talking about people not wanting matches, Ty Rotolo just wants to fight the best guys, and I love it. He wanted Gary. Gary's not available, so that kid's probably asked me for Craig like 12 times. And that's an interesting one. I mean, Ty thinks he matches up well. Who else is on this one?
Grace Gondrom's on it.
Grace
Nikki
Gondrom.
Ryan.
Nikki Ryan versus PJ is one I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Oh, Dorino versus Lovato is a hell of a match.
Yeah.
You got a former Bellator champ versus top UFC guy. You got Wilsey on there. Ethan versus Cage is an interesting one. There's a lot of exciting people on this one. That's what I'm trying to do with it is like build it around exciting people, right? Like,
yeah,
not everybody, I mean, has to have a great personality. That's a plus. I'm not the best personality, but it's like just be yourself a little bit in interviews, but just be exciting when you're competing, right? Like that's what we need. I'd rather take a guy who loses 10 times in a row, but is exciting every time over a guy who always wins, but nobody wants to watch him compete. Like, and there's a lot of people like that in the sport.
The work that you guys are doing at Flow shouldn't go unnoticed. You're giving these guys a platform. You're, getting these guys paid. It's just, you're helping grow the sport over there. It's great. We're huge fans. So.
Yeah. Now we're putting money directly in their pocket with the events, a lot of money too. But even before that, we weren't doing our own events, and we're still doing a whole bunch of other events. And it's like, that's what people don't get is like the content that we're making, it's all geared towards making them a bigger name, making more people care about them, right? So that way, when they're on the events, which is how we make our money, is that we don't make our money from content, it's from streaming events. When they're on the events, if they're a bigger star, it only helps us, so we invest all this time and money into making these people bigger names. And then down the line, more people want to watch them compete when they do our events. So that's what it's all about.
Do you guys feel any pressure in the sense of this next card is a huge card? There's tons of names on it. Do you feel pressure for the card after that? Okay, we have to top the one that we just did, or does it seem to snowball on its own where it just keeps getting better and better and better?
Yeah, I don't really think about it like that. Like we got to top the last one, but it seems like it keeps happening. More and more people are wanting to get involved in it now. Like now we got Mikey Musumeci's involved. We got more and more people who would have been earlier on, but would have been hesitant to get involved or reaching out or they're more open to talking about it. So we're getting more big names. And I mean, we got big plans for later this year. We're going to announce them all in the next couple of months, but we got some big stuff coming that's it's going to make what we're doing right now look like nothing really, but I can't wait to unveil this stuff.
Well, you have an open invitation to come back on this show at any time you don't have to break the news on our show. I won't ask that much, but to maybe come on after breaking news and break it down with us a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If you guys ever want to come out for one of these things too, I mean, we're doing spectators now. The April 30th will be our first one with spectators back. So if you guys ever want to come out, I can get you in for sure. Hook you guys up a couple tickets.
How intense was the Gordon Galvo incident backstage there?
Well, did you guys see the video where I'm sure you saw where Gordon, like the first video went out where it's like Gordon walking over to my little interview station?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where I hide back there in the corner of the warm-up room during these things. I don't even see the events until the next day or a couple days later. I don't even get to see the matches. I'm back there interviewing people the whole time. So I was back there, and you can see in the beginning of the video, Jessica Khan goes walking away because she had come to me to get like her check and say, "Oh, thanks, let me come on again." And we're standing there, me and her, and all of a sudden we see Gordon storming across the room, yelling. We're like, "What the fuck?" And then she got Val behind him, and they're yelling. And Gordon comes and he sits right down in his interview chair. And I just hit record on the camera because if you see it, like we post some stuff on social media where he's like yelling at Val from the chair. I was like, "Fuck it!" I just hit record and walked away. And then he's yelling at him, and I still didn't know exactly what the hell happened until it had sort of calmed down. I just thought they were yelling at each other. I didn't realize there had been a physical altercation. And then I asked him in the interview, I was like, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, I smacked him or whatever." And when you hear that, you don't think it's as extreme as what really happened, because like I've seen a lot of people get smacked in my life. That might have been the hardest smack I've ever seen, man. That thing
rocked him.
Yeah, that would have put me on my ass. Like that would have dropped me probably. Like, but then when I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, so when I did the post match interview and everything with them, I didn't really know what was going on. and it was pretty interesting. It's funny rewatching the video because it's like I call it who's number one, like a jiu-jitsu Illuminati meeting. Because if you look at the people who are breaking up that fight, it's like Danaher, Murillo Santana, Janji. It's all just like legends of the sport in there, and Gabby Garcia. And yeah, that was pretty hectic. It all went pretty fast. I didn't know what the hell to think when it was going on. But at the same time, I wasn't surprised because there had been a lot of tension between those guys leading up to that week. But yeah, I mean, it was probably the most shared thing in jiu-jitsu history. That was
That's crazy.
pretty crazy. We got security now because of that. So we can't be letting that happen again. So now we got this we got a security team that's there to make sure everybody, stays away from each other and doesn't get too crazy. But yeah, rewatching it, I was just grateful that I've seen several times in my life where somebody's trying to break up a fight and they get dropped on accident. And I was in the middle of them for a second. I'm like, man, thank God that didn't happen to me because that would have been more meme than the slap if a FloGrappling guy would have got dropped there. But
you'd have been turned into a meme in a second.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty intense. I mean, I wouldn't want to mess with Gordon, man.
No,
Gordon's so good for a reason, man. Like that guy, he's not a normal person. Like you're not gonna push him and get away with it. Like yeah, but thankfully it didn't get to any crazier than that. Thankfully things sort of calmed down backstage. But yeah, now we got to have the security there to make sure that doesn't happen again. Happening once, whatever, we didn't see it coming. I mean, how often does that type of thing happen? But now we got no excuse, so we gotta really work on preventing that type of thing.
And maybe now one day we'll see these two. Maybe one day. It's on the wish list.
That's the plan, right? Hopefully, ADCC 2022. I think they're doing September 2022 in Las Vegas. But man, that match would be so huge. Hopefully, we see it. That'd be a damn shame if after all this, I mean, years of build up, if we never get to see it, that would be pretty disappointing. But I mean, at the same time with Andre, it's like everybody thought Andre was going to retire after the last ADCC. I mean, he's getting up around 40 years old. So I mean, if he doesn't want to do it, I mean, I can't fault him. I mean, I'm 37 years old and I haven't done anything athletic in years. So to go out against the best, but I mean, I think for him it's win-win, really. I think even if he loses bad, people are gonna be like, damn, well, he came out, he did it at 40, and and it happens in all sports. Everything we see, all of our heroes in all combat sports, basically, unless they retire super early, we see him get passed up by somebody. So I mean, I think he would look like a badass just for going out and doing it, just doing like, what, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. I'm 40, he's 25. I'm gonna throw down and see how it goes. Pass the torch, or who knows, maybe win. I mean, I can't count him out. Andre's he's been so untouchable in that rule set, but I just think Gordon's on a different level compared to everybody.
He's a different animal.
And he's getting better fast. That's the thing. Him and everybody down there, their training is so focused, and Danaher runs such a good program that it's like you're seeing these guys just get better faster, super fast. Where it's like if somebody's close to them right now, 6 months from now, they're probably going to kill that person. Like Nicky Ryan, I'm excited for people to see Nicky Ryan because his technique it's really improved. The kid's looking really good. He's only 19 too. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that team. I won't be surprised if they get on the podium everywhere in ADCC next time.
Seeing on their Instagram, it just seems like they're very regimented in their training, their lifting, everything. So, and, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, and you're essentially shut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah, they're very dedicated. Gordon especially. Like when they were in New York, their training was always at 7 a.m. and it's like you sort of just assumed like, okay, Gordon's here because Danaher's class is at 7 a.m. right? And they moved to Puerto Rico. My first time going there, it's like, I hit up Gordon my first night there. I'm like, hey, all right, when are we meeting up tomorrow? It's like, all right, I'm lifting in my garage at 7 a.m. So it's like he still is like he doesn't take it easy. He's up at 5 a.m. He's lifting at 7, and he trains a few times and really dedicated. And I think that obviously he hasn't. There's other guys like Gary who's more focused on maybe Gordon's the top guy in grappling right now. I think everybody else sees his work ethic, and it's just like goes down the chain where everybody's going to be doing that. It's really showing.
Now you were down there, you were filming content. Is there going to be a release on like a sort of Daisy Fresh-esque documentary behind the scenes kind of thing with them coming out? And is there a timeline for that?
That's the idea. We've been sort of teasing it with some trailers. I think Cinco de Mayo is going to be the first episode. 5th of May. I think we're going to do Daisy Fresh season 2, is going to come out April 28th. And then the week after that, we're going to put out, I don't even know what they're going to title it. That's Reed's thing, but I've just been there sort of assisting him, guarding the camera gear while they go up and shoot beaches and stuff. But it's something about it's going to be something about the DDS in Puerto Rico, and it's going to be I think Daisy Fresh-esque, where it's like it's going to be a series where like because we've already been there a couple times, probably got enough to shoot 4 or to edit 4 or 5 episodes, and yeah, it's going to be just following those guys' life down there, which I think people are going to be really interested in. And well, first off, because it's so different, it's like everybody was like, what the hell when these guys packed up and moved to Puerto Rico, right? It's a really different situation, and there's just so many different personalities down there. Great person. I mean, Craig, Gary, you got both the Ryan brothers, Ethan, Nicky Rod, John Danaher. There's just there's too much personality to go around, and there's just so many different types of people. And great training. You know, everybody wants to see what the best people in the world are doing. So that's gonna be killer. I think that's gonna be a series on Flow that I think is gonna do very well, and I think people are gonna be really interested in that.
So basically what you're saying is I'm going to have a lot of content to watch between Daisy Fresh season 2 and the DDS stuff coming out a week apart.
My wife's Justin's gonna have a kid soon. My wife already hates how much time I put into jiu-jitsu, and FloGrappling's doing nothing to help that situation out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like our year's been pretty good so far, and I'm just really optimistic about a lot of stuff that we have in the works, especially in our films department. Not only the DDS in Puerto Rico, they have another film coming out about like Luchacha. They got another film coming about like the history of heel hooks, and it's like our little. I mean, it seems like things are going to start picking back up, but our period, I think, where we didn't have as many events to work, really freed us up to work on some more creative stuff, and it's all going to come to fruition pretty soon. And I'm really excited about that. That's Reed Connell. You guys, long hair, glasses. He runs our films for FloGrappling. Does a great job, and there's a few people that work under him, and got a lot of killer stuff coming.
I was wondering when Mike was going to say, "Hey, when are you coming to Philly?"
I wanted to come there last week. I had to go to Puerto Rico, but I wanted to go there for that ECI event. That was a cool event. I wanted to go there. And then,
yeah.
I know Zach and JM at 10 Planet, they were having a finishers event the next day. I wanted to go do all that, but they're just, can only be so many places.
Listen, I would go to Puerto Rico in the wintertime above Philly. Like, I think you made the right call. Like, that was a cool event, but it's still Puerto Rico. I mean,
Puerto Rico is pretty nice, man. I had never even considered going there before I had to go there for work, but it's like me and Reed were leaving there the first time. We're like, man, this is like one of the only places I've ever been for work where it's like I want to come back here just for vacation, just to chill, because it's really nice, man. It's clean, it's safe, it's at least where we go over in Dorado, where they live, which is like an hour from San Juan. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with Puerto Rico. There was lots of nice beaches with clear water. It was it's not that hard to get there. It's cheaper for us to travel there than to travel to California, so it's like a easy little tropical place to get to.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing all the content. You gave us some of the dates. Where can people find you specifically? And everyone's pretty much already following Daisy Fresh and Flow and all of that, but where can they find you and keep tabs on what's coming next by scrolling through your Instagram?
Yeah, they'll be pretty bored by my Instagram, but I barely post on there. It's at Michael W. Sears. I got my middle initial in there. Other than that, I don't have any other social media. I deleted Facebook and Twitter before the election. Sort of want to delete Instagram and just over all that shit, but I sort of have to have it for work. But at Michael W. Sears, if you want to be bored by, lame selfie pics of me going around.
If nothing else, Instagram got you on our show talking to us, so I'm going to count it as a win on
Instagram for the win.
That's the main reason I can't delete Instagram is I'm like a real professional. I do all this business in Instagram DMs. I'm signing athletes in Instagram DMs. So a lot of these guys don't check their email. That's the only way to get a hold of them. But
it works. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. It was really cool to hear the insider perspective from FloGrappling and everything going on.
Yeah,
this is one of the ones we were looking forward to the most, man. We really appreciate everything you're doing for the sport. This was fun. Hopefully I wasn't too boring, but it's way more relaxing when you just got to answer the questions as opposed to like coming up with them. I always get stressed out when I'm hosting these shows and like they're talking and I'm trying to think about what I'm going to ask next, but
when you're just answering questions, this is pretty easy. I could do this all day.
Well, we're probably going to have a lot more questions for you as you guys keep putting out content and more breaking news. So I'm going to further extend the open invitation to come on anytime. And don't delete your Instagram, because that's how we get in contact with you to get you for your next booking on our show.
For sure, for sure. All right, yeah. I mean, yeah, we can make it a regular thing. I mean, we got so many events, so many new pieces of content coming that I could come back on. I don't know, maybe in like 6 weeks or something, we'd have enough new stuff to talk about. We could try and figure something out.
I'm going to hold you to it. We're going to hold you to it. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, Mike.
Michael.
Thanks, Justin. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Take
Have a
care.
good night.
All right, bye.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Also, huge thanks to Michael Sears for coming on and talking to us. Be sure to give him a follow at Michael W. Sears on Instagram. Also, tune in to FloGrappling, FloGrappling.com, or FloGrappling's Instagram page to check out all the new stuff that they have coming out. Like he said, there's going to be new Daisy Fresh episodes. There's going to be specials on the Danaher Death Squad. So there's a lot of new stuff coming out. We've also put the links to our social media below. So if you want to follow us individually or you want to follow the show, just give them a click and check them out as well.
Don't forget to check out Epic Roll at epicrollbjj.com and use our code podcast15 for 15% off your order. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed. We have a lot of content coming and you don't want to miss any of it.
Say wrestling rocks.
No, it doesn't. It's a thing, but it doesn't rock. Good night, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us.
He fucking gets all big mouth when Michael Sears gets off. He doesn't. He gets all fucking. He's all antsy in his pantsy now that Michael Sears got off. He's gonna talk shit about wrestling.
Michael Sears.
Don't worry, Michael Sears.
Michael Sears invited.
Don't worry,
Michael Sears invited me to the next Who's Number One event, so he can say whatever he wants about wrestling. But you're in a hotel room in Lake Erie, so I don't have to listen to you talking.
So you can watch me compete. Michael Sears, don't worry. I'm going to defend wrestling to the death.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Which death is imminent because I'm in the middle of fucking Lake Erie.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.